Tonight, we're tiptoeing into one of history's most awkward hallways, the final moments of royalty who absolutely did not go out with dignity. Not heroic last stands, not noble sacrifices. We're talking about kings who tripped, choked, overrated, overbathed, underbathed, or simply made one bad decision too many and then immediately regretted it forever. This is history at its most human, which is to say, deeply embarrassing. So before we get comfortable, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy this sort of thing. Leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is. For reasons no historian can fully explain, it's always after midnight. Now dim the lights, turn on a fan, get comfortable, and maybe stretch out your legs while you still can. Tonight, we're going to ask some important questions. What was it like to rule the world and still lose a fight with a doorway? How much wine is too much wine when you're technically chosen by God? Can absolute power protect you from a slippery floor, a rogue turnip, or a poorly timed joke? And what does it feel like to realize in your final seconds that this is how people are going to remember you? Take a deep breath. Congratulations, you've just woken up in a palace. The year is very old. You are extremely important. And statistically speaking, this is not going to end well. You wake up in a bed large enough to rent out as a studio apartment. The sheets are expensive, the mattress is suspiciously lumpy, and someone is already watching you sleep. This is normal. You are a royal. Your day begins not with coffee, but with responsibility, ceremony, and the quiet pressure of knowing that everything you do will be written down by someone with excellent handwriting and no sense of mercy. You stretch, you sigh, and you prepare to face a world that fully expects you to be impressive at all times, including breakfast. The first thing you notice is the silence. Not a peaceful silence, but the kind of silence that means people are waiting. Somewhere just outside your vision, attendants are standing very still, holding objects whose sole purpose is to assist you with tasks you could theoretically do yourself, but absolutely must not. You are not allowed to roll out of bed casually. You are gently extracted from it, like a priceless artifact that might crack if handled with enthusiasm. Your joints protest as you sit up. Royalty does not equal comfort. This bed may be enormous, but it has been slept in by generations of important people who all left behind their own unique back problems. The mattress remembers them. It remembers all of them. You swing your legs over the side and briefly consider lying back down and cancelling history. Unfortunately, history has already arrived and is clearing its throat. Someone opens the curtains. Light floods the room dramatically, as if on cue. You squint. This is also normal. You are meant to look contemplative in the morning light, not blinded and irritated. Outside the window, the kingdom exists. Somewhere out there are thousands of people who believe you are chosen by fate, bloodline, or divine paperwork to be better than them. Right now, you are just hoping your knees don't make that sound again when you stand. It's time to get dressed, which is less an activity and more a prolonged negotiation between fabric and gravity. Clothes are layered onto you piece by piece. Heavy garments, decorative garments, garments that serve no purpose except to signal that you are extremely important and slightly impractical. You raise your arms when told, you turn when guided. You are essentially a very expensive mannequin with opinions. While this is happening, someone reads things to you, schedules, appointments, names of people you are supposed to remember, concerns about trade, war, taxes, or a cousin who is once again being suspicious near the border. You nod slowly, because nodding looks thoughtful. Internally, you are still thinking about the fact that you woke up tired. You went to bed tired. This seems unfair given your position. There is no concept of a quiet morning. You do not ease into the day. The day grabs you by the shoulders and shakes. Every movement you make is observed. Every yawn is noted. If you appear too energetic, it will be interpreted as arrogance. If you appear too slow, it will be interpreted as weakness. You aim for the narrow middle ground, alert but burdened, alive but weary, powerful yet tragically human. As you are finally ushered toward the door, you catch a glimpse of yourself on a polished surface. You look impressive, regal even, the kind of person paintings are made of. What the paintings will not show is that you slept poorly, your back hurts, and you are already counting the hours until you can sit down again without an audience. You take a deep breath and step forward. The day has begun. Somewhere, a chronicler dips a quill into ink. Whatever happens next, it will be remembered. And all you've done so far is wake up. It's time for breakfast, which is less a meal and more a medieval endurance event. The table is overflowing with bread, meat, wine, more meat, and bread pretending to be a vegetable. You eat because that's what kings do. You eat because stopping would look weak. You eat because nobody has invented the concept of moderation. Somewhere deep inside, your stomach files a formal complaint, but you ignore it. You have a kingdom to run and a digestive system that is about to betray you. The table itself stretches on for an unreasonable distance, disappearing into a haze of steam and ambition. Servants move around it like trained birds, refilling cups that were never empty and offering dishes you did not ask for and cannot pronounce. Everything is heavy. The plates are heavy. The food is heavy. The expectations are crushing. This is not breakfast meant to fuel a morning. This is breakfast meant to demonstrate power through excessive chewing. You sit down carefully because your clothes do. Not forgive sudden movements. Chairs are solid, upright, and designed to encourage good posture and quiet suffering. A goblet is placed in your hand. It contains wine. It is morning. This is also normal. Water is suspicious, coffee does not exist, and wine is considered a perfectly reasonable way to begin the day without questions. The bread arrives first. Thick slabs of it, dense, dark, and capable of doubling as building material. You tear off a piece and chew thoughtfully, as though you are enjoying it. In reality, it absorbs moisture from your mouth like a sponge with malicious intent. You wash it down with wine and nod approvingly, signaling to everyone that this is acceptable bread and that the kingdom may continue. Then comes the meat, all of it, roasted, salted, cured, and aggressively present. There is poultry, there is pork. There are animals you do not immediately recognize, which is usually not a great sign. You are expected to sample everything. Refusing would be rude. You take small bites and large sips, pacing yourself like an athlete who did not train for this event. Conversation happens around you, but it floats past in fragments. Trade routes, harvests, a minor dispute involving a fence and 3 goats. You respond with vague sounds of authority, while focusing on the very real sensation that your stomach is filling faster than it was designed to. Digestion, at this point in history, is more theory than science. Vegetables appear, but only briefly and mostly as decoration. They are boiled into submission or hidden beneath meat like an afterthought. Someone proudly presents a dish that claims to contain greens. You smile politely and move it slightly to the side, where it can do no harm. The wine keeps coming. It is safer than water and significantly easier than sobriety. You sip, then sip again. The room grows warmer. The smells intensify. Meat, bread, smoke, perfume, and humanity all mingle into a single thick atmosphere that clings to your clothes and your thoughts. Halfway through the meal, your stomach sends a stronger message. This one is less polite. You adjust your posture and continue eating. Stopping now would be suspicious. Royals are expected to eat heartily. Fragility is for poets and people without crowns. By the time the final dishes are cleared, you feel full in a way that is not restful. Heavy, slow, like you have personally offended gravity. You wipe your mouth, nod once more, and rise with care, hoping nobody notices how deliberate your movements have become. Breakfast is over. You are nourished technically. You are also one bad step away from regret. But the kingdom waits, and appearances must be maintained. You leave the table dignified, authoritative, and quietly terrified of what your body is planning next. You have survived breakfast. For now, let's talk about what you're wearing. Layers upon layers of heavy fabric, jewelry, stiff collars, and occasionally actual armor, because nothing says authority like being uncomfortable. Walking is a chore. Sitting is a negotiation. Standing up requires assistance and prayer. You look magnificent, but you move like a haunted wardrobe. Every staircase is a threat. Every doorway is an ambush. And yet, you proceed with confidence, because kings do not admit that their outfit might kill them. Your clothing begins with something soft, theoretically. Linen against the skin, meant to absorb sweat and protect the more expensive layers from the reality of your human body. Over that goes wool, then more wool, then something embroidered with gold thread that weighs approximately the same as a small anvil. By the time you are fully dressed, you have gained several pounds without the benefit of food. The collar deserves special attention. It is stiff, starched, and aggressively upright, framing your face like a decorative fence. Turning your head requires planning. Looking down is discouraged. Looking up is a statement. You learn to rotate your entire torso when acknowledging people, which gives the impression of deliberation, but is mostly about survival. Jewelry is added next. Chains, rings, brooches, all symbols of power and wealth. They pull gently but constantly, reminding you that gravity applies even to royalty. Each piece has meaning, history, and a sharp edge that occasionally pinches when you move too quickly, which is never. If the day calls for armor, things escalate quickly. Metal is strapped onto you in sections, locking you into a version of yourself that is both impressive and deeply impractical. The weight settles onto your shoulders and hips, compressing you slightly, like the world is giving you a firm, uninvited hug. Breathing becomes more intentional. Sitting becomes theoretical. Walking is now a performance. You take measured steps, careful not to rush or stumble. The sound of your movement echoes through halls, announcing your presence long before you arrive. This is meant to inspire awe. It also ensures that if you trip, everyone will hear it. Stairs are the true enemy. Each step is narrow, uneven, and designed by someone who clearly hated ankles. You approach them with caution, gripping railings and dignity in equal measure. Descending is worse than ascending. Gravity becomes personal. You imagine the chronicler sharpening their quill, waiting. Doorways offer no mercy. They are lower than you remember and framed with decorative wood that has claimed many foreheads. You duck slightly, pretending this is intentional. It is not. You make a mental note to order taller doors, then immediately forget because someone is bowing and you must acknowledge them without bending too much. Sitting down requires choreography. Chairs are not built for comfort, but for posture and power. You lower yourself slowly, adjusting layers so they do not bunch or trap you. Once seated, you are committed. Standing back up later will require assistance, timing, and the cooperation of your knees. Despite all this, you maintain an air of calm authority. You glide, you pause, you gesture carefully. To the outside world, you are composed and commanding. Inside, you are calculating every movement like a game of human chess, where the penalty for losing is falling over in front of witnesses. This is fashion as control, as performance, as quiet hazard. You wear your power literally on your body, restricting it, shaping it, threatening it. And you do so willingly, because to rule is to endure discomfort in silence. You move forward, layers rustling, metal clinking, confidence intact. The outfit has not killed you yet, but the day is still young. Physical fitness is an abstract concept. You do not jog, you do not stretch. You are occasionally lifted onto a horse like a very expensive sack of grain. The idea of exercise is reserved for peasants and people who don't own multiple crowns. Your body adapts by becoming soft, stiff, or both at once. This will matter later. History is patient like that. Movement, for you, is mostly ceremonial. You walk short distances at a dignified pace, pause often, and allow others to hurry on your behalf. If you need something across the room, someone else retrieves it. If you need to go somewhere far away, you are transported, carried, or placed gently onto an animal that did not consent to this responsibility. There are hunts, of course. These are considered exercise, even though you spend most of the time sitting very still while others chase terrified animals through the woods. When the moment arrives, you participate briefly, raising a weapon, making a decisive motion, and then returning to a position of observation. Everyone congratulates you. Your heart rate barely changes. On days without hunts, physical exertion is avoided whenever possible. Running is suspicious. Sweat is unbecoming. Breathlessness is a sign of weakness or excitement, and neither is encouraged. Your body learns this quickly. Muscles that are not used quietly resign. Joints stiffen in protest. Flexibility becomes a distant memory, like a childhood friend you no longer write to. Occasionally, someone suggests walking for health. This suggestion is politely ignored. Health is viewed as something that happens to you, not something you manage. If you feel unwell, you consult a doctor who will remove blood and recommend rest. Rest, thankfully, you excel at. Riding horses is the closest you come to regular movement, and even that is carefully controlled. You are lifted into the saddle with assistance, arranged into position, and told to hold on. The horse does most of the work. You bounce slightly, absorbing motion through layers of fabric and self-importance. This is considered vigorous. Your posture suffers quietly. You sit for long periods in chairs designed for authority, not alignment. Your back curves. Your shoulders slump. Your legs forget what they are for beyond standing when required. When you do move suddenly, your body responds with surprise and mild resentment. Time passes. Years, even. You do not notice the changes day to day. They arrive slowly, politely, like guests who never leave. You become accustomed to stiffness in the morning, heaviness in the afternoon, and a general sense that standing up requires preparation. This is normal, you assume. Everyone around you is also dressed like furniture and avoiding stairs. No one encourages improvement. You are surrounded by people whose job it is to agree with you. If you mention feeling tired, they suggest a nap. If you mention pain, they suggest wine. If you mention wanting to be more active, they suggest a procession. Your body keeps track of all of this. It remembers every skipped movement, every carried step, every moment of stillness disguised as dignity. It waits patiently because bodies are excellent historians. So you continue, ruling from chairs, traveling by carriage, existing within a narrow range of motion. You feel important. You feel established. You feel slightly winded after minor effort, but you dismiss it. There is always tomorrow. History, however, does not forget, and neither does your body. Note it. Eventually, something feels wrong. Maybe it's a headache. Maybe it's indigestion. Maybe it's the creeping realization that you should not feel this dizzy while sitting still. Naturally, you summon a doctor. The doctor arrives with confidence, leeches, and theories that were already questionable at the time. Blood is removed. Advice is ignored. Everyone nods solemnly. Somehow, the solution always involves making you weaker and hoping for the best. The doctor enters the room wearing robes that suggest authority and a faint smell of herbs that do not inspire confidence. He bows deeply because bows are important, and then begins explaining what is wrong with you in a voice that implies certainty without evidence. He mentions humor. He mentions balance. He mentions things being either too wet or too dry, which does not narrow it down. You listen patiently. You are very good at listening to people who are wrong, but confident. The diagnosis is delivered with gravity, as though the words themselves are treatment. According to the doctor, your blood is misbehaving. This is unfortunate because you need your blood. Nevertheless, it must go. A bowl is produced. Leeches are introduced. They are small, quiet, and entirely too eager. The doctor assures you this is for your own good. You nod, because disagreeing would suggest doubt in science, such as it is. Blood is drawn. Color leaves your face. Everyone watches closely, as though this is progress. When the dizziness worsens, the doctor appears pleased. This means it's working. He suggests resting, followed by more bloodletting later, just to be safe. He also recommends avoiding certain foods, unless those foods are the only ones available, in which case moderation is advised, but not enforced. Herbal remedies follow. Teas are brewed from plants selected for their symbolism rather than effectiveness. Powders are mixed. Ointments are applied. The room fills with smells that range from forest floor to regret. You are instructed to inhale deeply. You do not feel better, but you do feel different, which counts. Advice is plentiful and contradictory. You are told to stay warm and also cool, to eat less and also more, to rest and also maintain appearances, to avoid stress, which is an interesting suggestion given your job. You nod again. Nodding is easier than understanding. If your condition persists, additional experts are consulted. Each one brings new theories and more tools. Cups are applied to your skin, creating alarming bruises that are described as encouraging. More blood is removed, because clearly the first time did not remove enough of it. Through it all, you grow weaker. Standing requires effort. Concentration slips. Your body feels lighter, but not in a good way. Still, everyone agrees you are improving. Improvement is defined loosely and primarily by how calm the doctors appear. Modern medicine has not arrived yet. Germs are not a concern. Cleanliness is optional. Instruments are reused. Hands are wiped on sleeves. The concept of infection is centuries away from being useful to you. At some point, you stop questioning the process. This is happening to you, not with you. Your role is to endure. The doctor leaves, satisfied, promising to return if you survive the night. You lie back, surrounded by pillows and well-meaning ignorance. The pain dulls, or perhaps you do. Either way, something has changed. Your body feels tired in a deeper way now, like it has lost an argument it did not know it was having. Medicine has been applied. Results are pending. Bathing is either excessive or non-existent. Some royals bathe constantly, convinced that water will purify the soul. Others avoid it entirely, convinced that water will steal their strength. Both approaches are wrong in their own special way. You smell faintly of perfume attempting to cover up something more aggressive. The palace air is thick, warm, and deeply unventilated. You breathe shallowly and tell yourself this is fine. Cleanliness in your world is a philosophical debate rather than a routine. Water is suspicious. Too much of it might open your pores and let illness sneak inside. Too little of it, however, creates its own set of problems that nobody wants to name directly. Instead, solutions are layered on top of the problem, much like your clothing. If you are a frequent bather, the process is elaborate. Water must be heated, scented, and blessed by enough attendants to make it feel official. You lower yourself into a tub with care, because slipping would be humiliating and potentially fatal. The bath is meant to cleanse you, but it also leaves you tired, dizzy, and convinced you should lie down immediately afterward. This is interpreted as relaxation. If you are not a bather, hygiene becomes a creative exercise. Linen undergarments are changed frequently because the dirt is supposed to transfer itself politely onto the fabric. Perfumes are applied generously. Herbs are tucked into clothing. Gloves are worn not for warmth, but for protection against hands, including your own. The result, regardless of method, is an atmosphere. Palaces are enclosed spaces filled with people, animals, smoke, and optimism. Windows are small. Fires burn constantly. Air moves reluctantly, if at all. Scents accumulate. You become aware of them only when someone new enters and flinches slightly before regaining composure. Your own scent is not discussed. It is hinted at. People stand a respectful distance away. They lean back subtly. Compliments about your fragrance are delivered with just a bit too much enthusiasm. You accept them graciously and do not ask follow-up questions. Hand washing is inconsistent. Soap exists, but it is harsh and used sparingly. Hands are wiped on cloths, sleeves, or whatever is nearest. Meals are eaten with fingers. Doors are touched. Faces are adjusted. The idea that invisible things could cause harm has not yet gained traction. Teeth are another matter entirely. Cleaning them involves cloth, sticks, powders, or simply hope. Breath is masked with spices and wine. Close conversation is avoided unless necessary. When necessary, it is endured. Lice are common. Fleas are familiar. This is not a personal failure. It is a shared experience. Scratching is discreet, but constant. When you pause mid-conversation to adjust a collar or rub your neck, no one comments. They understand. The combination of heat, fabric, limited washing, and constant human presence creates an environment that your body must adapt to. Skin reacts. Small. Irritations become permanent companions. Rashes are named, treated, ignored, and lived with. Despite all this, you persist. You attend meetings. You preside over ceremonies. You lean close enough to be heard and far enough to be safe. You exist within the acceptable boundaries of cleanliness for your time, which are narrower than you might hope and wider than you might fear. At night, when the palace quiets slightly and the air grows heavier, you lie down and breathe carefully. The perfume lingers. The heat remains. You adjust your position to find a pocket of tolerable comfort. This is normal, you remind yourself. This is how it has always been. And history once again quietly takes note. Ruling is stressful. Everyone wants something. Everyone is lying. Someone is probably poisoning someone, and it could be you, or it could be Tuesday. You replay conversations in your head. You overthink glances. You drink to relax. It does not help. Your heart beats a little faster. Your patience grows thin. Your body is quietly keeping score. From the moment you sit down to rule, requests begin arriving like a slow, polite avalanche. Nobles want land. Merchants want favors. Religious figures want reassurance that you are still on the correct side of God, which changes depending on who you ask. Everyone smiles. Everyone bows. None of this is comforting. You listen carefully because listening is safer than speaking. Words can be repeated. Promises can be remembered. Silence, on the other hand, can be interpreted however the listener prefers. You offer measured responses, vague encouragement, strategic pauses. You become fluent in saying very little while sounding important. But your mind does not stop when the room empties. It follows you down corridors and into quieter spaces. You replay what was said, what was not said, that pause before the bow, that look exchanged between two people who definitely think you didn't notice. You noticed. You notice everything. That's the problem. Paranoia is not encouraged, but it is quietly practical. History has not been kind to relaxed rulers. You assume at least one person in the room wants you removed, replaced, or mildly inconvenienced via scandal. Food is tasted before you eat it. Drinks are watched. Compliments are treated with suspicion. Genuine affection is treated with more suspicion. At night, when things are supposed to slow down, your thoughts speed up instead. The day replays itself in fragments. A comment that felt harmless now sounds loaded. A decision that seemed reasonable now feels dangerous. You stare at the ceiling and imagine alternate outcomes, most of which end badly. Wine becomes a companion. It is offered constantly and accepted gratefully. A cup to take the edge off. Another to soften the thoughts. Another because it's there. The warmth spreads briefly, loosening the tight knot in your chest. For a moment, things feel manageable. Then the warmth fades, leaving everything slightly louder and more insistent. Your heart beats faster. Your head feels heavy. The thoughts return, now less organized and more dramatic. You decide to stop drinking after this cup. This decision is made often. Your body reacts to the constant tension in small ways. Your jaw tightens. Your shoulders remain lifted even when you sit. You clench without realizing it. Sleep becomes lighter. You wake easily, convinced someone said your name. No one suggests stress might be a problem. Stress is the job. Complaining about it would be like complaining about gravity. You are expected to endure, to carry it quietly, to smile through it, and continue making decisions that affect thousands while pretending you are not exhausted. Over time, the strain settles deeper. Your chest feels tight more often. Your breathing shortens. Your patience wears thin at inconvenient moments. You snap at someone and immediately regret it, then spend hours replaying the snap instead of resting. Your body, meanwhile, continues its silent record-keeping. It notes the missed rest, the shallow breaths, the constant alertness. It does not argue. It waits. You take another sip. You nod at another request. You reassure another person who does not believe you. The crown sits heavy on your head, and somewhere inside you, something quietly decides it has had enough. This is where it happens. A slip, a laugh, a bite of food that goes down the wrong way. A moment so ordinary it barely deserves attention, except it absolutely does. There is confusion. There is a scramble. Someone shouts, someone prays. You realize, far too late, that history is about to summarize your entire reign with one deeply unfortunate sentence. It does not feel dramatic at first. That's the unsettling part. There is no thunder, no ominous music. Just a normal moment unfolding slightly incorrectly. Your foot meets the floor at the wrong angle. The stairs are steeper than expected. The fabric catches. The chair is not where you thought it was. Something small goes wrong, and your body, already tired and stiff and overburdened, does not recover. You laugh, maybe, or try to. Laughter feels safer than panic. If you can laugh, it means this is still under control. The sound comes out thinner than expected. Someone nearby laughs too, just a little, unsure if this is allowed. The room holds its breath. Then the pain arrives, or the pressure, or the sudden absence of air. Your body sends a message that does not require interpretation. This is bad. This is very bad. You grip something solid, hoping it will stabilize you, but nothing feels solid anymore. People move toward you all at once, which is both helpful and deeply unhelpful. Someone reaches for your arm. Someone else reaches for your other arm. Someone is shouting your name. Someone is already explaining what happened in a voice meant for later retellings. If this is choking, it is undignified. There is no graceful way to signal that you cannot breathe. You cough, you gasp, your eyes water. You hear a prayer begin nearby, which feels premature but also oddly appropriate. Food, which was moments ago a symbol of abundance, has become an obstacle. If this is a fall, it happens faster than you expect. The ground meets you with enthusiasm. The impact steals your breath. The room tilts. Fabric and metal shift violently, turning your own clothing into a trap. Pain radiates outward, bright and immediate. Time behaves strangely. Seconds stretch. Sounds blur together. You are aware of too much and not enough. Faces hover above you, distorted by panic. Someone orders water. Someone orders wine. Someone orders silence, which is immediately ignored. Your thoughts narrow. You do not think about legacy or power or history. You think about discomfort, about how you would like to sit up, or breathe, or undo the last 10 seconds. You wonder briefly if this is actually happening, or if you are about to wake up in that enormous bed again. You are not. Doctors are summoned, because that is what people do when they are afraid and want to feel useful. They arrive quickly, carrying the same confidence and tools that have not helped you before. They discuss you as though you are not fully present, which is fair, because you are rapidly becoming less so. Someone kneels close and speaks softly, telling you everything will be fine. Their voices shake. This is not reassuring. Another person crosses themselves. Another looks toward the door, already thinking ahead. You understand, suddenly and clearly, that this is the moment. Not a battle, not a declaration, not a carefully planned succession. This, a mistake so small it could happen to anyone. That's what makes it unbearable. Your reign, your authority, your carefully maintained image, all of it compresses into this scene. The awkwardness, the confusion, the helplessness. History will not describe how tired you were, or how heavy your clothes felt, or how your body had been warning you for years. History will say you slipped, or choked, or laughed too hard, or stood up too fast. You would object if you could. But the room is getting quieter now, and the sentence is already being written. The room is filled with people who have no idea what to do. Servants panic. Advisors argue. Doctors suggest something involving cutting or bleeding. Nobody is in charge anymore, including you. You try to maintain dignity, but dignity has already left the building. Somewhere nearby, a historian senses opportunity. At first, everyone talks at once. This feels productive, but it is not. Orders are given and immediately contradicted. Someone demands water. Someone else insists water is dangerous. Wine is proposed, rejected, and then quietly poured anyway. The air fills with voices, fabric, and fear, all competing for space. Servants rush in circles, clutching trays and towels and objects that seem important but are not. One of them drops something. It breaks loudly. Everyone flinches. No one addresses it. Broken things are suddenly the least of anyone's concerns. Advisors cluster together, whispering urgently, their heads bent like worried birds. They argue about protocol, about precedent, about who is allowed to speak first when this sort of thing happens, which none of them have actually rehearsed. Someone mentions succession. Someone else hisses at them to stop saying that word out loud. Doctors push forward with authority born entirely of confidence. They examine you quickly and declare something vague and alarming. They disagree with each other immediately. One suggests bleeding. Another suggests more bleeding, but differently. A third suggests waiting, which is treated as cowardice. You are still there, technically. You can hear them. You can see movement. But your ability to participate has been revoked by your own body. You would like to remind them of certain preferences. Perhaps no more cutting. Perhaps less shouting. Perhaps a chair that does not feel like it is drifting away from you. Someone takes your hand. They mean well. Their grip is tight, as if they are trying to anchor you to the room by force. Their faces are too close. You can see panic in their eyes, reflected back at them. They tell you to stay calm. This is an unreasonable request. Prayers begin, overlapping and unscheduled. Different words, same urgency. They rise and fall around you like waves, each one promising comfort and delivering noise. A religious figure steps forward and begins reciting something ancient and solemn. Half the room bows. The other half watches the door. That door is very important now. People glance at it constantly. Messengers will soon be sent. Someone will need to know. Someone always needs to know. You wonder briefly who will hear first and how quickly the story will change as it travels. A chair is fetched, then discarded. Pillows are arranged, rearranged, and then ignored. Every attempt to help adds another layer of chaos. No one wants to be the person who did nothing. Doing something feels safer, even if that something is objectively unhelpful. Your dignity, which you carried so carefully through layers of fabric and years of ceremony, has been misplaced. You are aware of this in a distant, detached way. You are being discussed, handled, repositioned. Your authority is now theoretical. Somewhere along the edge of the room, someone is watching quietly. They are not panicking. They are observing, taking mental notes. This person will remember the order of events, or at least decide on one later. They will choose words carefully. They will smooth over the mess, or highlight it. The arguing continues. Voices grow hoarse. Decisions are postponed. Time passes in uneven chunks. You drift in and out, catching fragments. A name, a title, a question that no one answers. Eventually, the room settles into a tense, exhausted hush. Not because anything has improved, but because everyone has run out of ideas. The realization spreads slowly and silently. Whatever is happening is now beyond control. You lie there, surrounded by concern, confusion, and the unmistakable sound of history clearing its throat. The court has done its best. which is to say, not very well at all. And just like that, your life becomes a story, not a flattering one, not the kind they carve into statues. This is the version whispered, chuckled over, and eventually printed in books with footnotes. You are remembered not for laws or wars or crowns, but for the absurdity of your exit. It's quiet now. History moves on. And somehow, your most human moment is the one that lasts the longest. At first, there was confusion about how to describe what happened. People struggled to find the right words. They want to be respectful, they really do. But the facts are stubborn, and facts, unfortunately, do not care about dignity. A fall is a fall. A choke is a choke. A laugh that goes too far does not become noble just because it happened in a palace. Official statements are drafted carefully. Titles are listed. Achievements are mentioned. Phrases like sudden illness and unexpected event are deployed like shields. For a brief moment, it almost works. Almost. Then the details leak out. Someone tells a friend. That friend tells someone else. The story gains clarity as it travels, shedding formality with every retelling. The tone shifts. Eyebrows raise. A pause appears before the ending. And then, inevitably, a quiet, disbelieving laugh. Years pass. The kingdom changes hands. Portraits are moved. Your name is spoken less often, except in one specific context. When people talk about strange deaths. When someone needs an example. When a teacher wants to keep students awake. You become a cautionary tale with a punchline. Proof that power does not protect against stares. That crowns do not cushion falls. That destiny can be undone by furniture, food, or enthusiasm. Your accomplishments remain technically. Laws you signed are still in effect for a while. Buildings you commissioned still stand. But these things require explanation. The story of how you died does not. It explains itself immediately and completely. Artists exaggerate it. Writers sharpen it. Historians pretend to be neutral while quietly enjoying the irony. They add context, but the context never quite saves you. It only makes the contrast sharper. All that power, all that ceremony. And then this. You are no longer a person in these retellings. You are a moment, a sentence, sometimes just a headline. Your humanity compressed into an anecdote. And yet, there is something honest about it. In your final act, stripped of control and spectacle, you were just a body doing what bodies do. Failing unexpectedly, ignoring warnings, trusting routine, making a small mistake on an ordinary day. People remember that because they recognize it. They laugh not out of cruelty, but out of uncomfortable familiarity. Because if it can happen to you, chosen by God, or blood, or history, it can happen to anyone. So your legacy drifts on, half respected, half amused. A reminder that history is not impressed by titles, that it has a fondness for irony, that it will wait patiently for the moment when the story turns strange. It is very quiet now. No voices, no scribes, no advisors. Just the long echo of what people say when your name comes up, followed by that pause, and then the inevitable reaction. You can't make this up. And history didn't. I just wrote it down. So tonight, as the palace finally goes quiet and the candles burn low, you're left with the strange stillness that follows a very long, very human day. A day filled with heavy clothes, heavier meals, bad medicine, worse hygiene, and the constant low hum of stress that never really let you rest. You ruled, you endured, you survived right up until the moment you didn't. And that's the oddly comforting part. Because for all the crowns and ceremonies, all the power and pageantry, The people we've wandered through tonight were still just people. Tired people, overfed people, anxious people in uncomfortable shoes, doing their best with the information they had, which was not much. They slipped, they choked, they trusted stairs, chairs, doctors, and routines that absolutely did not deserve that level of trust. History can be cruel in how it remembers them. It zooms in on the awkward ending and forgets the years of effort that came before it. But there's also something gentle, hidden in that cruelty. A reminder that no matter how high you climb, life remains stubbornly ordinary underneath it all. So as you lie there now, in a clean bed, in a room with fresh air, modern medicine, and furniture that is mostly trying to keep you alive, take a quiet moment of gratitude. Not for the embarrassment, but for the endurance, for the fact that humanity kept going through all of this. Through bad ideas, worse science, and meals that could double as weapons. Because history may be gross, stressful, and deeply ironic, but it's also proof that people are resilient, adaptable, and a little ridiculous. And that's how we made it here. So let your shoulders relax. Let the day fade. Tomorrow, you won't have to wear armor to breakfast or fear the stairs. And that, honestly, is a victory. Okay, good night.